Okay. Okay, thank you everybody for coming to this session. My name is Okakeru. I'm a financial advisor with Greatway Financial, and we're a brokerage company, and we offer a lot of all the financial services that you would want to carry on. And you can feel free to reach out to me at any point in time. So today we're going to be talking about the TFSA. The TFSA is one of my favorite accounts to invest in Canada. And in the course of this meeting, you're going to see why I say it's my favorite account because of all the benefits that come with the TFSA. Now, the TFSA is an acronym for tax-free savings account. And though in the name there's savings account in it, the TFSA was not created to be used as a savings account in that sense. It was created for it to be used as an investment account so that the residents of Canada can invest through this tax sheltered account. Now, the TFSA is a registered account, and the TFSA is one of the registered accounts that we have in Canada. We have the RRSPs, the RESPs, REIFs, they're all registered accounts. And a registered account is an account or one of the accounts that the government of Canada has made available for the citizens, or not citizens, the residents of Canada, because not just citizens can make use of registered accounts. So the accounts that the government of Canada has made available for the residents of Canada to be able to invest and save in a tax sheltered environment, and also enabled residents to be able to access their money in a tax efficient manner. So a TFSA came into being in the year 2009. And at 2009, people that were 18 years and above or had reached the age of majority, because in some provinces, the age of majority is 19 years old. So people that had reached the age of majority could start using this account from 2009. And this account has a yearly maximum contribution room. And as of 2009, the maximum contribution room of 2009 was $5,000. And over the years, this maximum amount has fluctuated over the years. And as of 2022, the maximum contribution room for 2022 is $6,000. Now, there's a benefit that registered account has, because you can carry over contribution room. So for me, I've been in Canada for the past 4 years. So if I have not made use of any of my putting money into my TFSA at all, right now, even though the maximum contribution room for 2022 is $6,000, I would have a room of $24,000 because of the ability to carry over contribution room from year to year. And this is not an all or none rule. So if, for example, for someone that came in last year and had a contribution room of 6,000 last year and a contribution room of 6,000 this year, if that person has put in, say, for example, $3,000, the extra room of $3,000 remaining from last year can be moved into this year. So this year, the person is going to have a contribution room of $9,000 as of this year. So what are the benefits of having a TFSA account? The TFSA account has a tax-free investment good. So whatever funds you put into the TFSA account has the ability to grow tax-free. And this means that your funds in that account can compound faster and compound bigger, because Albert Einstein says one of the wonders of this world is compound interest. So the fact that you're not being taxed on your investment growth within the account helps the fund to go faster and bigger. Then the funds in this account can be withdrawn at any point tax-free. So this is quite different from what you have from the RRSP, which is another type of registered account where you get taxed at the end of the day. But the TFSA, you withdraw all your money out of the account at any point in time, tax-free. So what this means is that if, for example, I've been able to invest $10,000 using the TFSA account, and this $10,000 over the years have grown up to say $100,000. So that $100,000 is mine to take out at any point in time, tax free, except dividends from US stocks. So for US stocks that pay dividends, the dividends that are being paid are taxed at 15% because USA does not recognize this particular account as being tax free. So that's one of the situations where a part of the money in your account can be taxed if you have a dividend stock from the US and it pays out dividends to you. So now the withdrawals from this one, another benefit is that the withdrawals from this account can be recontributed or the following year. So for example, if I have a maximum of $6,000 room last year and I put in $6,000, I've maxed out my contribution, so I cannot put in any other or more money into the account because I've maxed it out. If I withdrew $3,000 out of that account last year, this year I'll have a contribution room of $6,000, which is the contribution room for 2022. And also the withdrawal that I made last year is also added to my contribution room. So that means I'll have another extra $3,000 room to put in $3,000. So for this year, I'll have a contribution room of $9,000 altogether because of the withdrawals I made last year. And this is awesome because if you, for example, the RRSP doesn't have this advantage because withdrawals from the RRSP is like lost room, right? Because you will not be able to recontribute that money, even if you have extra cash to recontribute at a subsequent time. Then you're able to name a beneficiary. For most registered accounts, you're able to name a beneficiary to your account so that in the case of debt, your money or in that account is able to pass on to your beneficiaries and it's able to bypass the process of probate. So when you die, there's a process of probate where all that you own is subject to taxation, and it takes sometimes it takes years to go through all that process to pay up the tax accrued in your estate after you pass away. So this sometimes ties up fund, and if you have beneficiaries that are dependent on that fund, it can take a long time for the probate process to finish up and the funds released to your beneficiaries. But for the TFSA, if you name a beneficiary, it bypasses that process so that the money gets paid to the beneficiary or they can access that money immediately. Then sorry, let me take off this. Then what are the restrictions of a TFSA account? Like, yes, the TFSA account is one of my best accounts to invest through, but there are some restrictions or some disadvantages, if you will, of a TFSA account because no account is perfect, right? So you have to reach the age of majority before you can use this account. So the age of majority in most of the provinces is 18, but a province like I think British Columbia, you have to be 19 years old for you to be able to own a TFSA account. That being said, the fact that in British Columbia you have to be 19, you would have accumulated your $6,000, for example, or the previous year when you were 18, the previous year's room into the following year. So if you turned 19 this year, you'd have a contribution room of $12,000, even though you were not eligible to contribute or to open a TFSA account last year when you were 18 in British Columbia. But this year, when you turn 19 and you open up your account, you have a contribution room of $12,000 as of this year. So there are other types of strategies you can actually use to invest for children. But for a TFSA account, you cannot open up a TFSA account for a child. Then the maximum contribution room for the TFSA has a maximum contribution room. As of 2022, the maximum contribution room for the TFSA is $6,000. So this is a bit of a restriction because there are a lot of people that have extra money and want to invest, but they cannot invest above the $6,000. because any amount of money you put into a TFSA account above the maximum contribution room attracts a monthly penalty that will accumulate over time. And the monthly penalty on that excess contribution you put in is 1% every month. And as long as you don't take out that extra contribution that you've put in, it keeps to accumulate over time, and it can accumulate into a huge sum that would erode that can erode a lot of your profit. Then the TFSA is not tax deductible, unlike the RRSP, where if you put in a contribution into your RRSP account, you can actually get a tax refund from the government and pay less tax for that year. The TFSA, the money you put into your TFSA is actually after tax dollars, so you don't get a refund from the government for taxes. The advantage of the TFSA is that the money will grow in the TFSA tax-free, and you are able to access every penny out of your TFSA tax-free. So you cannot do day trading on your TFSA. If the CRA finds out that you're using your TFSA as a day trading account, it will also attract penalties. Then the TFSA is not creditor protected. So if you declare bankruptcy, there are some strategies, some investment strategies that you can use, like the IRP, where even if you're a bank, you declared bankruptcy or you pass away, creditors cannot access the funds in that account. But the TFSA is not creditor protected. So if you declare bankruptcy, creditors can actually access money from your account. And this is just a graph showing what the tax advantage of a TFSA is showing it side by side with a non-registered investment. A non-registered investment would accrue tax at the end of the year, where the profit you've made over that year is being taxed. So this graph is just showing if you're putting in exactly the same amount of money, the amount they used in this graph was $6,000, and the interest rate was that was placed on this money is 6%. And over the years, you can see how the fact that the TFSA is a tax sheltered account, how much money you would have saved over the years. So as of 20 years, you'd have an extra $40,000, even if you do the same amount of investment into a TFSA as against a non-registered account. So you can see how much you can save using the TFSA, or how much you can accrue over the years using the TFSA as against a non-registered account. Now, what is the eligibility of a TFSA? For a TFSA, for you to be eligible to have a TFSA account, you must be a resident of Canada. You must be an individual. So a company, if you have a company, you cannot have a company that has a TFSA. So an individual, you must not be a company. You must have a valid SIN number for you to be able to open up a TFSA account. And then, like I mentioned, you must have reached the age of majority. So you, depending on where the province you're in, you should either be 18 or 19 years old by the time you're opening up the TFSA account. So what kind of investment can you put into a TFSA? So before I talk about the type of investment you can put into a TFSA, I want to mention that the TFSA in and of itself is not an investment. Why I'm mentioning this is that a lot of times when I talk to some clients and you ask them, okay, what kind of investments do you have? They tell you, I have the TFSA, I have the RRSP and all that. But the TFSA in and of itself is not an investment. It is just an account through which you can invest. And this is quite important because the type of investment you put into your TFSA, or how you set up your TFSA, is very important, because sometimes your TFSA can be opened up in a way that it's just a savings account. And in Canada, if you go to the banks and you hear the percentage or the rate on interest rate, the interest rate that is being placed on savings account, you see that you have maybe between 0.5 to about 1 or 2%. And that's pretty small. So if your TFSA is opened as a savings account, the tax advantage might not really benefit you in any way, because interest you're getting on your investment or your savings is quite minimal. So when you have a TFSA, for the people here that already have their TFSA, make sure you go back to your advisor. If you opened it up in the bank, make sure you go back to your bank and find out exactly how they structured your TFSA. Because if it's structured as a savings account, or you're putting in like GICs and the rest, you'll find out that over the years you might not accrue so much in your TFSA, and that will defeat the purpose of opening up your TFSA. So now the TFSA as an account, you put in most of the type of investments that that you have around. So you can put in cash, you can put in bonds, you can put in GICs. GICs are guaranteed investment certificates, investment certificates, stocks, equities, mutual funds, or segregated funds. So all these are all the kinds of investments you can put into your TFSA, and it will accrue interest to you tax-free over time. So now, where can you set up your TFSAs? Yeah, you can set up your TFSA in basically any standard financial institutions like the banks, insurance companies, trading platforms like Wealthsimple, Questrade, and the rest, and even credit unions too. You can actually open up your TFSAs in a credit union. Then what is the difference in setting up your account in a bank versus the insurance company? I'm using these two because these are like the major ones that people know about, either the banks or an insurance company. Now, the major difference between setting up your TFSA in a bank versus the insurance company is that in a bank, the bank would usually, if you set it up as an investment account in a bank, not a savings account, the banks invest through what is called mutual funds, while the insurance company invests your funds through what is called a segregated fund. Now, no type of fund is better in that sense or bad in the other sense, right? But each has its own advantage and disadvantage. So for the banks, if you're investing your funds through the banks, the advantage of you investing your or opening up your TFSA and investing through mutual funds is that it is cheaper, because each type of investment has like a policy fee where you pay the institution or the managers of that particular investment, right? So it is cheaper to own a mutual fund, because the amount that you pay as a policy fee is actually cheaper than what you would um, pay using a segregated fund. But for the insurance company, because it's an insurance company, you also have some kind of protection when it comes to using the segregated fund. So in principal protection, so for insurance company, you have the protection of, most insurance company give you a protection of 75% up to 100% of your principal. So irrespective of what the market is doing at any point in time, you're guaranteed that your principal investment, if you choose to go with the 75%, that your principal investment will not go below 75%. And if you choose 100%, you're guaranteed that your principal is protected 100%, no matter how badly the market is doing at the time of when you want to take out the maturity of your investment. And also the insurance company or mutual or segregated funds, also offer what we call a reset. So a reset is a way to actually put like a barrier, so the market fluctuation doesn't affect your interest. So for example, if you put in $10,000 as your principal, that's your original principal is $10,000, and the market does an average of 10% that year, and you make an extra $1,000, you can put a reset there, and your reset makes it that your principal becomes 11,000 as against 10,000. So if you have a contract where your TFSA is 100% guaranteed on maturity, you'll find out that instead of you having 10% as your principal, it now becomes 11,000. And you can keep on doing your reset over time as you get interest accrued to your account. so that at the end of the day, you find out that even if the market is doing really badly, you would actually have interest accrued to your account. Then, what are my takeaways? This is going to be a very short session because the TFSA is not very, very complicated. It's very straightforward. Unlike the RSP might take a bit more time. So now, my takeaways for the TFSA is that the TFSA as an account is not an investment. So if you have a TFSA account or you're trying to set up a TFSA account, you should make sure the TFSA account is set up so that you are able to get all the benefits, right? So don't if you're setting it up in the bank, make sure it's not set up as a savings account. Tell them that you want to set it up as an investment account, and you can also set it up with an insurance company. And for insurance company, most of the time they're setting it up as an investment account, and they will use segregated funds with all the benefits that segregated funds will give to you in that account. Then you should not, like I mentioned, you should not use it as a savings account. You should use it as an investment account. And make sure you do not over contribute in your TFSA, because if you over contribute in your TFSA, you'll find out that the tax that will accrue to the over contribution, which is 1% per month, accrue over time and it will eat up most of your investment. So this is the end of the TFSA account as it is. So if you have any questions, please unmute yourself and ask.